"Can I share this table?" asked the single mom. "Only if I pay the bill," said the billionaire boss. The rain hammered against the cafe windows with a persistence that matched Emma's exhaustion. Her wet hair clung to her neck, droplets sliding down to soak into her already damp sweater. 5-year-old Lily pressed against her side, shivering slightly despite the warmth of the cafe interior. Emma scanned the crowded space, her heart sinking. Every table was occupied, couples leaning close in conversation, students hunched over textbooks, freelancers claiming entire booths with their laptops, and notebooks spread like territorial markers. The lunch rush had transformed this usually peaceful corner cafe into a bustling refuge from the November storm. Her gaze landed on a man sitting alone at a table for 4 near the rain-streaked window. He wore a navy suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, his fingers moving confidently across the keyboard of an expensive laptop. A cup of coffee sat untouched at his elbow, steam rising in delicate spirals. Emma hesitated. Men like that didn't want to be bothered by bedraggled single mothers and their children. But Lily's teeth were chattering now, and they'd already walked 8 blocks in the downpour after the bus broke down. Her daughter needed somewhere warm and dry, even if just for a few minutes. Taking a deep breath, Emma approached the table. "Excuse me," she said softly, trying not to drip on his papers. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, but would you mind if we shared this table? Everywhere else is full, and my daughter really needs to warm up." The man looked up, and Emma found herself meeting eyes that were an unexpected shade of gray, like the storm clouds outside, but somehow warmer. He took in her soaked clothes, Lily's pale face, and the way Emma's hands trembled slightly from cold and nervousness. "Only if I pay the bill," he said, his voice carrying a quiet authority that suggested he was used to making decisions and having them accepted without question. Emma blinked, caught off guard. "That's not necessary, really. We just need somewhere to sit for a moment. I insist." He closed his laptop and gestured to the empty chairs. "Please sit down. You both look frozen." He raised a hand to catch the attention of a passing waiter. "What would you like? Hot chocolate for your daughter, perhaps? And something for you." "I couldn't possibly," Emma began, but Lily tugged on her hand. "Mama, I'm cold," the little girl whispered, her voice small and tired. Emma's resistance crumbled. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford when her daughter was shivering. "Thank you," she said quietly, helping Lily into a chair before sitting down herself. "That's very kind of you." The man ordered hot chocolate for Lily, coffee and soup for Emma, and asked for extra napkins. When the waiter disappeared, he extended his hand across the table. "Alexander Hayes," he said. "Though most people call me Alex, Emma Carter, and this is Lily." She shook his hand, acutely aware of how cold her fingers must feel against his warm ones. Alex smiled at Lily, who was peeking at him shyly from behind her mother's arm. "It's nice to meet you, Lily." "That's a pretty name." "Thank you," Lily whispered, then added with the brutal honesty of children, "You're wearing fancy clothes." Alex chuckled, and the sound transformed his serious face into something more approachable. "I suppose I am. I had an important meeting this morning." "Are you a prince?" Lily asked, her eyes wide. "Lily." Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I'm sorry, she's 5, and she's been reading a lot of fairy tales lately." But Alex didn't seem offended. "Not a prince, I'm afraid. Just a businessman, much less exciting." The waiter arrived with their order, setting down a magnificent hot chocolate top with whipped cream and chocolate shavings in front of Lily, who gasped with delight. Emma's soup was fragrant and steaming, accompanied by fresh bread and butter. It was easily $40 worth of food. "This is too much," Emma protested weakly, even as her stomach growled at the aroma. "It's just lunch," Alex said simply. "Please, eat. You look like you've had a difficult morning." That was an understatement. Emma had been up since 5, getting Lily ready for kindergarten before rushing to her own job at the grocery store. Her shift had ended at 2, and she'd raced across town to pick up Lily from school care, only to have the bus break down in the middle of the storm. They'd walked the rest of the way, getting thoroughly soaked, and Emma had ducked in the first cafe she'd seen because Lily had started crying from cold and exhaustion. She didn't tell Alex any of this. Instead, she took a sip of coffee and savored the warmth spreading through her body. "Thank you," she said again. "Really, this means more than you know." Alex studied her for a moment, his gray eyes thoughtful. "You're welcome. May I ask, are you headed somewhere specific or just seeking shelter from the storm?" Home, eventually. We live about 6 more blocks from here. I was hoping the rain would let up before we continued. I see. Alex glanced out the window, where the rain showed no signs of slowing. I have a car and driver waiting outside. I'd be happy to give you both a ride when you're ready. Emma's first instinct was to refuse. She'd learned long ago to be wary of offers that seemed too good to be true, especially from wealthy strangers. But something about Alex felt genuine. Maybe it was the way he'd smiled at Lily without condescension, or how he'd ordered food without making her feel like charity case, or simply the quiet kindness in his eyes. That's very generous, she said carefully. But we've already imposed enough. It's no imposition. My driver is paid whether he's sitting idle or actually driving somewhere. And it's still pouring. You shouldn't have to walk in this. He paused, then added, I promise I'm not a serial killer or anything similarly concerning. Though I suppose that's exactly what a serial killer would say. Emma found herself smiling despite everything. Are all businessmen this persistent? Only the successful ones. Alex replied with a slight grin. Lily had finished her hot chocolate and was leaving a whipped cream mustache on her upper lip. She yawned hugely, the warmth and sugar making her drowsy. Emma felt her own exhaustion settling into her bones now that they were finally warm and dry. All right, she conceded. If you're sure it's no trouble, we'd appreciate the ride. Thank you. Excellent. Alex reopened his laptop, but seemed less focused on it than before. So, Emma, what do you do when you're not braving storms with your daughter? The question was casual, the kind of small talk strangers made, but Emma felt self-conscious about her answer. I work at Henderson's Grocery on 5th Street. Checkout and stocking mostly. If Alex found this unimpressive, his face didn't show it. Henderson's? I've been there. They have excellent produce. Do you enjoy it? Emma considered lying, painting her job as more than it was, but decided honesty instead. It pays the bills, mostly. I'm working on my associate's degree online when I have time. Business administration. It's slow going with a 5-year-old, but I get there eventually. That's admirable. Working full-time while raising a child and pursuing education that takes real determination. Emma felt her throat tighten unexpectedly at the simple validation. When was the last time someone had acknowledged how hard she was working? Her ex-husband certainly never had. Her family lived 3 states away. Most days she felt like she was running on a treadmill, working desperately just to stay in place. We manage, she said simply. They talked for another 20 minutes, while Lily dozed against Emma's side, full and warm in content. Alex asked about her studies, her goals, even her favorite subjects. In turn, Emma learned that he ran a technology company, Hayes Innovations, he said, as if she should recognize the name. She didn't, but she nodded anyway. What struck her most was how he listened. Really listened, not just waiting for his turn to talk. He asked follow-up questions about her accounting course, seemed genuinely interested. When she mentioned wanting to understand business operations from the ground up, he told her about starting his company in a garage 12 years ago, about the failures before the successes, about how every person in his organization mattered regardless of their title. The best business insight I ever got, Alex said, came from a janitor in my first office building. He told me that if I wanted to know how a company really worked, I should ask the people who kept it running every day, not just the executives. Changed my entire management philosophy. Emma smiled. That's wise. The people at the grocery store could tell you things about customer behavior and inventory management that no business textbook covers. Exactly. Alex's eyes lit up with genuine enthusiasm. That kind of practical knowledge is invaluable. You learn theory in school, but reality teaches you what actually works. When the rain finally eased to a drizzle, Alex settled the bill, which Emma tried not to see but glimpsed anyway, wincing at the total, and led them outside to where a sleek black car waited at the curb. The driver, a professional-looking man in his 50s, opened the door with a respectful nod. Robert. This is Emma and Lily. We're getting them a ride home. Of course, sir. Good afternoon, ladies. Robert's smile was warm and genuine, and Emma found herself relaxing slightly. This felt less like accepting help from a stranger and more like simple human kindness. Emma gave her address, and they settled into seats that were more comfortable than her own couch. Lily perked up slightly, fascinated by the luxurious interior, her small finger tracing the leather upholstery. Are you really not a prince? She asked Alex seriously. He laughed. Really not. Just a regular person who got lucky in business. You're not regular, Lily insisted with the confidence only small children possessed. Regular people don't have cars like castles, Lily, Emma said gently, but Alex was smiling. You make an excellent point, Lily. I suppose I'm fortunate. Though I promise I'm quite ordinary in most ways, I still burn toast and forget where I put my keys. The drive took only minutes, far too quickly for Emma to properly process everything that had happened. When they pulled up in front of her modest apartment building, she felt reality crash back down. This was her life: the peeling paint, the cracked sidewalk, the perpetually broken buzzer. And Alex would drive away to whatever penthouse or mansion he called home. Thank you again, she said as she helped Lily out of the car, for everything. You've been incredibly kind to strangers. Alex had gotten out too, standing in the drizzle like he didn't notice it. He pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it to her. Emma, I don't usually do this, but my company is always looking for dedicated people. You mentioned you're studying business administration. If you're interested, I'd like to offer you an interview for an entry-level position in our operations department. Better pay, benefits, and we offer a tuition reimbursement for employees continuing their education. Emma stared at the card, then at him, certain she'd misunderstood. I don't have any experience in tech. I stock groceries. And you're raising a child alone while working full-time and pursuing a degree. That tells me you're resourceful, determined, and excellent at managing multiple priorities, exactly what we need. The rest can be learned. He smiled. Think about it. If you're interested, call that number and ask for Sarah in HR. Tell her I sent you. Emma's hands trembled as she took the card. Alexander Hayes, CEO, Hayes Innovations, CEO. She'd been sharing a table with the head of one of the largest tech companies in the city. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. And Emma. He met her eyes. Everyone deserves a little luck sometimes. Consider this yours. As the car pulled away, Emma stood on the sidewalk holding that card like it might disappear. Lily tugged on her hand. Mama, I liked him. He was nice. Yes, baby. Emma whispered, watching the taillights vanish around the corner. He really was. That night, after Lily was asleep, Emma sat at her tiny kitchen table and looked up Hayes Innovations online. Article after article appeared: tech breakthroughs, philanthropic initiatives, industry awards. Forbes had recently featured Alex in a piece about ethical business leadership. The company employed over 2,000 people and had started a foundation providing technology education in underserved communities. She looked at his business card again, running her finger over the embossed letters. It could be real. It could change everything. Or it could be nothing, a kind gesture from a wealthy man who'd forget about her by morning. But Emma had learned that survival meant taking chances when they appeared. She'd taken a chance asking to share his table. Maybe it was time to take another one. She picked up her phone and drafted an email to Sarah in HR, her hands shaking slightly as she typed. Before she could second-guess herself, she hit send. Sometimes, she thought, fairy tales did come true. They just looked different than expected, less like princes and castles, more like businessmen in cafes and business cards that might lead somewhere new. They looked like strangers who chose kindness when they could have chosen indifference, like opportunities hidden inside rainstorms. Outside her window, the rain had stopped completely now, and the clouds were beginning to break apart, revealing glimpses of stars. Tomorrow would be a new day, and, for the first time in longer than she could remember, Emma felt like it might actually be a good one. She glanced at Lily's door, thinking about her daughter's question in the car. No, Alex wasn't a prince from a fairy tale, but maybe that was better. Fairy tales were fiction, but kindness was real, opportunity was real, and sometimes, when you were brave enough to ask a simple question, can I share this table? The answer could change everything.